Alright, so before I show you how to do this, I'm going to put this homework up here. It'll probably be 3 more places, but you can see your homework, 3 different pages. They're all back to back. There's the problems. Only find the inverse. Don't do any graphing. No restricted domain. And of course, this is for Tuesday, February 27th, I think. And I'll be checking your work when I come back on Wednesday. We may even have a quiz, so you should be ready to go. Alright, we're going to start working on page 305. I'm going to jump straight to the homework, show you how to do it, try to make this as painless as possible. Alright, so simply put, to find the inverse of a relation, all we do is switch the ordered pair. So the inverse of -6 or -8, 6 is 6, -8, -2, 6, and -6, -6, 4. Okay, switch x and y is how you find the inverse. That's too easy, really. Now, that's how you do 1 through 4. 5 through 14 is a little bit more difficult. It's still the same concept, though. Just know, like if I do number 5, that's a y, and how I'm going to solve it is I'm going to switch x and y, just like I did with the relation. And the only problem here is that your equation has to be solved back for y. So you do have to be a decent equation solver. So this is the step for number 5. All I did was switch x, y. And then when I show you the answers tomorrow, they'll be solved back for y. So if I have y plus 2, I solve it for y by subtracting 2. So the inverse is y equals x minus 2 for y equals x plus 2. That's basically it. I mean, this does get more difficult because the problems get more difficult. Let me do number 6. I don't want to do all your homework problems. Most people I've found that really struggle is, for one, they just forget the first step, which is to switch x, y, and then they really just struggle with that middle school equation solving. If I have x equals 5 times y and I want to solve for y, the opposite of times y or times 5 is divide 5, and so my inverse is going to be y equals x divided by 5. You should get the process. Let me look at some down here. I'll do one more here. Let me do number 14, and then I might do a couple on the next page and just turn you loose. Now, all these directions say something about graphing the inverse. Some of them are going to say about restricted domain, and we'll talk about that. Tomorrow. Graphing shouldn't be a big deal. Restricted domain, we'll just save that stuff for tomorrow. So if you can just find the inverse when I come back, we'll be good to go. So I'm going to switch x, y, so I'll say x equals y squared plus 4, and then just solve it back for y. So from our middle school skills, we're going to subtract 4 first. So x minus 4 equals y squared. Something you may not be super familiar with, but the opposite of square is square root. So to finish this thing, I will square root both sides, and my inverse is going to be y equals the square root of x minus 4. So that's number 14. By the way, I realize I'm doing some of your homework problems, so that just gives you less to do. I still expect you to have the answers. Let's go to the next page. Jumping down to number 26 through 30. Still the same stuff. I actually don't see anything different here. I can work number 30. I guess it looks like your most difficult one. So I'm going to say x equals parentheses y plus 1 squared plus 3. On this one, I'm going to have to subtract 3 first to get the parentheses by themselves. So I'll have x minus 3 equals y plus 1 squared. Let's see if I can bring this up before I get too far down into the problem. Really wish it would let me highlight. Okay, anyway, I'm going to move my math up here. All right. Pause this. Hold on just a second. Okay, so I just moved my math. So now I want to get rid of the parentheses, but it's parentheses squared, so I'm going to undo that by square rooting. So I'll have the square root of x minus 3. Now it equals y plus 1. So I will finish this thing by subtracting 1, subtract 1, and my answer for number 30 is x minus 3 underneath the square root, and then minus 1 outside the square root. That is your inverse of number 30. Let me go to the next page and see if there's anything there I think you might struggle with. And then you can jump to the homework. So 37 through 40 looks pretty good. The only thing that you're really not very experienced with would be like number 39 and 40, so I'll do one of those. And then it should be go time for you. So that's a y, so x equals the square root of y plus 3. Now if you notice in my other problems, I was subtracting 3 first or adding 3, and I need to do that, but all of this is underneath the square root. So if the opposite of square is square root, the opposite of square root is square, so I will square both sides to get rid of the square root. That leaves me with a y plus 3, and now I can subtract 3, and my inverse for number 40 is x squared minus 3 equals y. Shouldn't have any trouble doing this as long as you can solve equations. I know some of you struggle with solving equations, so that's where you're going to struggle. It's not Algebra 2, it's going to be middle school, but you can work through it and you need to learn it, and I'll be back on Wednesday. Do your homework. I will be checking it for a grade. Thanks.